Hello, Facebook friends. Tish here. Happy Friday. I am coming to you live, actually from my hotel room in Cibolo, Texas, outside of San Antonio. And before I get on the road to head back to Galveston, I decided I wanted to come to you all just with some Friday food for thought that actually came up in a couple of conversations I had this morning. And I hadn't been down this trip down memory lane in years, and for some reason, I don't even know why, it came to front of my mind on a conversation I was having early this morning with a girlfriend. And then I was talking to somebody else, and all of a sudden, like, it kind of played a part and was a great analogy again. And then I was like, okay, maybe this is meant for me to share with the world today. So I have decided to come to you all live. I don't have a way to hold my phone up, so I apologize if I move around. I'm just gonna be holding it with my hand and going back and forth, and it'll be my arm exercise for the day. So anyway, excited to be connecting with y'all. I hope you're having a great summer. Kick off to a great July. It's hot in Texas and humid. It is so hot and so humid. So wherever you are, I hope it's beautiful and maybe not quite so hot and humid. But this story, I think, is really important to share today. So for many of you, you may or may not know my age, and I'll just put it out there. So I'm soon to be 49, and proud of it, because why not? Might as well own it. And we just celebrate our 24th wedding anniversary. So I feel like lots of life lessons have been learned over these last soon to be 25 years of marriage. And I thought about this one scenario in our life that I feel like made such an impact on so many future decisions that we made. So I'm going to like stage the situation for you. So, you know, the first 12 years of my professional career, I worked in pharmaceutical sales, and I was pregnant with my second child, Drew, and we were at a stage in our life where we had been in our house a few years, and a lot of people around us were kind of going to that next stage in their life where they were upgrading. They were getting larger homes, you know, their families were growing, they felt like they needed more space. I mean, it's a very natural transition, right? Many people go through it. And so, you know, we were essentially, I was like, this is just what we need to be doing as well. And I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a bigger house? I wanted to live in a bigger house. So when about 3 weeks from my delivery date, we closed on what I refer to as our McMansion, which it was hardly a mansion, but it definitely was a lot more square footage than the home we were living in. We were living in a home that had about 2,400 square feet. This home had like over 5,000 square feet. In my opinion, it was a mansion to me. And it was like 3 times our mortgage, our you know, the mortgage we were leaving. And we had 2 incomes. I was in pharmaceutical sales. I did have my wedding business that I had started on the side that I was working very part-time around my full-time job. And then, of course, Jonathan was in his law career. So we bought that house on 2 incomes for sure, prepping for our 4th family member to come into the world and us needing the more space. So we thought, and, you know, expected. So we move into the McMansion, and 3 weeks later, I deliver Drew. And, you know, then I'm in newborn stage. I'm on maternity leave. I am, you know, getting used to being a mother of 2, you know, all that goes along with that. Many of you have been in that stage of life. And I decided, or I was up, I was starting, and maybe some of you have been through this, I have no idea, but I was starting to have the feelings of, I don't know if I want to go back to work. I thought I wanted to go back to work. I actually don't know if I want to go back to work now. It is very different having 2 versus 1. And so I was up in the middle of the night feeding Drew one night, and I just had this revelation that I wanted to change my life. And I didn't want to go back and work for the corporate giant. And I wanted to be able to be in control of when I worked and have flexibility. And I had this side business in the wedding industry, and I thought if I walk away from my corporate career. Maybe I can build that up more, and that's what I want to do and be home with these babies. So I wake Jonathan up in the middle of the night and I say to him, I don't want to go back to work. I'm sure he loved this conversation at 3 a.m. And he was like, okay, being the very supportive husband that he is, if you don't want to go back to work, that's fine. But this is the deal. And that's when like the next statement came and I was like, ugh. He said, we're going to have to sell the house because there's no way we can afford this house on my income alone. So we're going to have to sell the house. And at that point, we had been in that house about 2.5 months. Okay. Maybe 3. And I was like, okay, then we'll sell the house. This is how passionately I did not want to go back to work. And I was willing to do anything it took to make that not happen. And if that meant downsizing, then I was game on. So I said, okay, then that's fine. And then his next response back was, well, I'm going to put the sign out in the middle of the night because people are going to think that we are crazy. And he may have thrown an F word in there as an explicitive, or not explicitive, that is not a word, whatever the word. He was like, I'm sure remotely annoyed with me, or very annoyed, not remotely annoyed, very annoyed with me, but trying to be a supportive husband. And I mean, I loved the house, he loved the house. So like, you know, we didn't really want to move away, but at the same time, I wanted to be home with my babies. And if that's what it took, that's what I was willing to do. So we wake up the next morning, we start talking about it over coffee, and all of a sudden it hits us like, people are going to think we're crazy. People are going to think we're failures. People are going to think that we do not know what we're doing in life. People are going to think that we are not smart planners. People are going to think that we make rash decisions. Our parents are going to be so disgusted with us that we have just bought and sold this house and 3 months in are wanting to sell this house again. Like we were, and me being the person, and he too, like we want to please people. Like I'm a pleaser. I want everybody to, you know, be proud of what I'm doing and love what I'm doing. That's just, you know, strength, weakness, whatever you want to call it. I was like, then I started getting embarrassed. People are going to think that we're not successful. Like I started getting embarrassed. And all these fears were coming into my head. And even though all these fears and, you know, my early 30s were coming into my head, I was like, but I don't care. I don't want to go back to work. I want to have options. And if that means having to downsize, then we've made the mistake. We've learned from the mistake. Whatever. I'm moving on. I cannot worry about what people think. So we put the sign out in the middle of the night because we were so embarrassed. We were embarrassed, so embarrassed. And because, I mean, we weren't going to lie to people when we were going to say, oh, we don't like the house, we're moving. No, we were going to be honest because we're honest people. And then, of course, the next morning, like the next door neighbors, who I'm not going to mention, but she's a dear friend. I love her. She was like, y'all just, you're moving? What happened? Did you get transferred? And so then I had to start sharing my story, our story, which was, I want to stay home. I don't want to go back to work. And we bought this income on 2 incomes. We bought this home on 2 incomes. And the only way for us to make this happen is for us to downsize. And, you know, I'm going to work at building my other wedding business. And in the meantime, we're just going to have to get into a home with a smaller mortgage because I want to be able to stay home with my babies and work from home. And I think the first time I said it, I was like so scared to see what the response would be because I was living next door to what I considered mega mansions and people living in, you know, McMansions. And I was thinking they are going to think we are crazy failure people, not successful people. And I couldn't believe what the response was. The response was incredible. The response was, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of you, Tish. I admire you and the decision that you're making. I remember our neighbor down the street who was so lovely, like brought over the Catholic saint that's supposed to help you sell a house and wrote this handwritten note and said she had heard the word on the street and she was just so proud of me for making such a hard decision. And I remember calling our parents up and I mean, to this day, I do things in life to hopefully make my parents proud. And as I think about it, like I could cry because I thought they are going to think we just did not think through this. And we are such level-headed people. And I remember my father saying, Tish, this is how you realize in life what is important to you. This is how you realize you got to make the mistakes to see the path that you want to take. You know how many mistakes your mother and I made? And along the way, we figured out what we wanted. And just I expected to have one response from people, and we ended up getting the complete opposite response. And I was so blown away by it. And I'm sure there were those people. But if there were those naysayers out there, because I'd gotten so much support, I didn't hear it. I heard the support. I didn't hear the question or the people shaking their, whatever, like, how crazy are those Meffords? I didn't hear it. And obviously we put the house on the market, took a couple months to sell, sold that puppy. We moved into a house. I mean, we ended up over time remodeling and making it our own, and a home that, we lived in for 12 years and raised our babies in. But what we left and walked into, no comparison. Like, the house that we moved into wasn't even as nice as the house we had sold to move into my McMansion. And I could have easily let it steer me down a different path. But I actually got that sense of pride and was like, this is just part of life. This is part of our story. This is the story I'm going to be able to share with my kids one day. I wasn't at the time thinking this is a story I may share with the Facebook world one day, but now I'm sharing it with the Facebook world. Like, that was part of our story. And I swear that one chapter of our life led me to feel so much stronger and confident with future hard decisions that had to be made that we were able to walk through and make. And I could go through a long list of them, and I won't at this time because, you don't need to hear all my stories. But I think the message that I wanted to share with you all today is, I know, like, it's so wonderful to be around people that have had more experiences than you because there's that wisdom and they've got so many great lessons to share. And all of us have so much to learn from all those that are out there that have had more, life lessons than us. But that life lesson was so impactful to me. And I think the biggest lesson was I thought people were going to think poorly of me. And we could have easily stayed in that situation because I didn't want people to think that. But it was more important to me for me to have what I wanted, which was me being able to have flexibility and choice and be at home with those babies, even if it meant moving into a home with 30-year linoleum on the floors, bathrooms that had not been remodeled since they were built 50 years prior, like the most outdated electrical you could ever see, a washer and dryer in my garage versus a gorgeous laundry room I had in that house. It was more important and bigger than that, it was me having to just say, you know what, I can't worry about what others think. This is my life that I need to lead, to be the best person I can be, to be the best mother I can be, to be the best daughter I can be, to be the best sister I can be, to be the best friend I can be, to be the best, woman in the community I can be. And that, I just had to tell myself, I can't worry about what others think. And I thought they would think we were crazy and failures. And what I found was that we inspired them to go out and be bold with their life choices. And I don't know why I haven't thought about that experience in years. I haven't, but it was weighing heavy on my heart today. And I think my lesson in it is it's so much better to just be honest with people. We could have made up a fancy story, but it wouldn't have been impactful and it wouldn't have been true. And I'm not a liar. I can't lie. And it was much better to just be honest. We made a mistake and we thought we wanted this, but actually what I want more is to be able to be home and have flexibility and have choices. And if I have to downsize to do that because I can't have both, so be it. I'm okay with that. And, you know, I know many of you may have a stage in life like that or something similar, or who knows, who knows. But if that lesson can help you today to be confident in what you want and the things that are going to make a big impact in your life, then I thank you for letting me share today. I thank you for letting me share what I hope one day can guide my own children as they make their mistakes, and I can remind them of one of the mistakes we made and how it wasn't a mistake. It was actually part of our story, and it's how we then went on to make so many other choices after that from the lessons we had learned from that. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you letting me share, and I wish you all a happy Friday and a wonderful weekend, and that's it for now. Have a great day. Bye. Mwah.